Merry Christmas, Mokena. Enjoy this special Christmas episode about one of my visits to town on a cold and snowy night in 1925. I hope you have all been good this year. Be sure to keep listening to Mokena's Front Porch, or you might be getting coal in your stocking this year. Matt and Israel thank you all for listening and wish you a very Merry Christmas. Now on to our story. Merry Christmas.
Hey Matt, how are you?
Hey Israel, doing good, thanks. How are you tonight?
Good, I'm glad to be back here, and we are full in the midst of the Christmas season.
Absolutely.
And so we have one of your stories from last year that you posted from Friday, December 17th, 2021.
Wow.
Labeled The Yule of Yore, Christmas 1925 in Mokena. Great little story that we're going to talk about and get into. Before that, tell us a little bit. What do you enjoy about Christmas in Mokena?
I definitely like the Christmas parade that the chamber puts on, and they've been doing that for quite a long time now, and I've been to quite a few of them. I've been in quite a few of them. Years past, just going with the library, and I feel like every year I did it was horrible weather somehow. Either it was raining or it was just really, really cold. But nevertheless, I've always really enjoyed it, and seeing the big turnout and seeing the usual faces from town. And it's just always been really great. I've always really enjoyed it.
It's a great parade. And maybe you missed it, but this year we had decent weather. It was cold, but it was decent.
Yeah, this was one of the years I had to miss, unfortunately. But I did notice that it actually was decent weather for once.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Yeah.
And then this past weekend, the Chamber also did the trees on Front Street, which is a nice addition in the last couple of years. Brings some more Christmas spirit. And
absolutely.
And too, the village has done a better job in the last number of years with lighting up our downtown Front Street,
too.
Absolutely.
It looks
that's
great
a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks fantastic now.
What else? Any special Christmas memories that you can think of growing up, spending your life here?
Yeah, definitely. As we mentioned when we were talking beforehand, Candy Cane Lane is a big one.
And anybody that doesn't know, Candy Cane Lane is First Court off of Schoolhouse Road. East of Schoolhouse Road.
Mm-hmm, that is correct, yeah. And I feel like it's still really cool, but in years past, it was even more grandiose, if you can even imagine that. I feel like when I was in high school, so that would have been like early 2000s, and even a little before that, I feel like right when the first few years of all the neighbors kind of coordinating it, it was really just out of this world, and it was a really cool tradition to go there and like park on the street and just get out and walk and check out each individual house. It was really cool.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. We usually drive by my son all the time when we know Candy Cane Lane goes up. Asks to do a drive-by of Candy Cane Lane.
Good. Yeah, that's important. That's all part of it.
I saw that the St. John's Church was out doing some caroling. I think this past weekend, and they posted a picture of stopping by Mr. Kropp's house.
Yeah, they did indeed. I was with them.
Yeah, you were?
I was with them. Yeah, they invited me to come with. So, yeah, we did go to Dave's house, Dave Kropp's house. Got to see him. Also, it was kind of like a who's who of Mokena. We stopped also at Art Benson's house, who I can't remember. I'm not sure if he's ever come up on any of the podcasts, but he is a 95-year-old gentleman who has lived here in Mokena his whole life. He's a pretty interesting guy. So it was good seeing him too.
Wow, that's I won't take it personal that I didn't make the who's who of caroling.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
You know, it's not something you see very often, but it's cool that I thought it was cool to see. It's one of those kind of brings back the days of past.
Yeah.
People going around singing.
Yeah, it's great.
So before we get into your story, it takes place at the Cooper Hostert Ford Agency that was on Front Street. Is that right?
That is correct.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So Cooper and Hostert, as they were known around town just by the owners' names, was a very long-lasting Mokena business. It was established in 1916 out of a little building that was originally on First Street, but in the 1920s, they expanded into the old Mokena Hall space, which was an old building that fronted right on Front Street, it having stood where Avalanche Jewelry is nowadays. And they were in business there all the way up until the 1970s, so pretty long time in the grand scheme of things. And the building stood until 1993 when it burnt down, unfortunately, in a pretty catastrophic fire that happened. But any, say, Cooper and Hastert, and any longtime Mokena resident will be familiar with them, as they were there for a pretty long time.
And who were the owners?
The owners were Elmer Cooper and Barney Hastert, who were actually brothers-in-law. They kind of had an interesting story. The Coopers, of course, we have over the years a lot of Coopers in Mokena from that family, but they also originally the Coopers were an Orland family, and this Cooper, Elmer Cooper, grew up on a farm in the far southern section of Orland Township, basically right outside Mokena. And at one point, while he was farming, he hired his future business partner, Barney Hastert, to be one of his farmhands. And that's how that connection happened. And in 1916, they went into business together with their Ford agency. And years later, I believe they got some sort of recognition or award or decoration or something from the Ford company themselves for having been such an early established agency, if you will, or one of the Ford dealerships. So they were recognized for that and for their longevity of having been in business for so many years.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty
all the way up to
interesting.
1970, huh?
Yeah, it was the early 70s. The exact year is escaping me right now. Maybe around 72, 73. If anybody's listening, don't take that as gospel. It was around in the early 70s at some point. Fun fact, if any of our listeners are Mokena people, they'll know Dave Bergman, who was the proprietor of Dave's Auto on Front Street for so many years. He got his start working for Cooper and Hastert.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And Dave's Auto is now Tribe's Brewery.
Absolutely. Yes, it is indeed.
So our story starts in 1925,
Yes.
and the business has been around for just about 6 years at that point.
Yeah, it's pretty new business still at that point. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's hear this Christmas story.
Christmas is easily the biggest holiday on Mokena's calendar, it being a grand finale to the year and all of its events. Each Yuletide has a special memory attached to it, recalled fondly through the passage of time. The holiday season of 1925 was quite a unique one in the chronicles of our village's history, for in that year, a special kind of joy reigned supreme on Front Street. A well-known, out-of-town dignitary graced Mokena with his presence, for Santa Claus made a quick stopover in town. So it came to pass that in December, a letter was taken in hand by the Mokena Volunteer Fire Department. Its lines bore big news, announcing the upcoming visitor from the North Pole. The village's newspaper, the News Bulletin, caught wind of the communication and under a headline in its December 18, 1925 issue, gleefully proclaimed, "Oh, you kids of Mokena, read this." An article explained that the fireman had received a note from Santa and that he'd be squeezing some time into his busy schedule to make a quick stop in Mokena on Monday evening, December 21st, at the Cooper and Hastert Ford Agency on Front Street. The landmark business was the perfect place for Santa's reception, as many Mokenians saw the garage as something akin to an informal village hall. That evening at 7 o'clock, the news bulletin noted that an ever-growing crowd assembled there in preparation for Santa's arrival, for which the interior of the auto showroom was festooned with a Christmas tree strewn with colorful lights. Excitement was building, and in the crowd, youngsters began to get anxious, waiting for him. At a peak moment, Nick Hyman, a resident of the then rural Schoolhouse Road, showed up at the garage with urgent news. Santa had just rung him on the phone, letting him know that his sleigh had become weighed down with gifts to such a degree that he was marooned about 3 miles outside town. Father Christmas urged Hyman to keep everyone calm, for Harold Cooper, the son of one of the garage's owners, was on his way to bail him out. Before long, Santa Claus materialized on wintry Front Street, and what an appearance he made. Amidst his sleigh bells and ringing, to the delight of Mokena's youth, Santa made his grand entrance to Cooper and Hostards, where villagers young and old beheld a jolly-faced, bewhiskered, red-clad figure who bellowed, "Merry Christmas!" The man of the hour paid individual attention to the swarm of little Mokenians who welcomed him, shaking every hand and asking each devotee what kind of gift they like on the big day. He wasn't alone, for helpers described as assistants lugged in huge bags filled to the brim with goodies such as candy, fruit, and nuts, which were then promptly handed out. Father Christmas didn't forget Mokena's parents, who also turned out to see him, each one being given a plump, juicy orange. Before long, Santa bid his admirers farewell and swiftly disappeared from Front Street as quickly as he had arrived. Bill Semler, editor of the News Bulletin and a Mokena resident of some standing, was especially happy with the Jolly One's appearance in town and made it clear on the front page of his paper. Semler hailed the efforts of those who arranged the visit, stating that the men who were responsible for this party and getting Santa here are to be highly commended for their unselfish and community-uplifting spirit, also lauding the soul of the season, writing, "For the time being, all creeds and religious beliefs were forgotten, as members of various faiths enjoyed themselves as one big family, truly exemplifying the Christmas spirit." The historical record isn't exactly clear on whether it was the real Santa who paid Mokena a visit in 1925. For all we know, a townsman who fit the description might have donned his suit that evening. This historian, however, likes to think that it was jolly old Saint Nick himself.
You know, the end of the story I thought was really interesting. It said, you said, one big family, truly exemplifying the Christmas spirit. And I think that's one thing that really comes out strong in small towns.
Yeah.
Is that sense of family, sense of community. And I know it's probably why these people loved Mokena and why they they chose to live here.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially back then. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it at all.
And can you imagine the sight of Santa Claus coming down snowy Front Street?
Yeah.
Those kids must have just erupted.
I know, I can easily imagine it. I know I would have.
Yeah.
Even now, so.
We just want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Mokena.
Thank you for listening. We enjoy doing this, and
absolutely
look forward to sharing more stories with you and more of the history of our town. So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
On Wednesday, December 14th, 2022, the Mokena Intermediate School hosted their winter music concert featuring 4th and 5th grade beginning band, orchestra, and cadet band. Being a proud band parent, I'm happy to share with you Up on the Housetop by 4th and 5th grade beginning band. Merry Christmas.